Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Tainted Warriors. I'm Mikey.
I'm Nicole, and this week we're going to talk to you about some Halloween night murders, because it's getting to be that time. Are you all ready for some scary shit?
I am.
But before we get into that, let's start you off with our
Question of the week. This week's question of the week is, what is the most daring thing you've ever done?
I googled what daring meant, just to kind of get my head in the right space, and because we just had a kind of debate about it before we started this, honestly, if we're being real. And what it was is, if you use it as an adjective, you could say something like a daring crime. So being like adventurously bold, I think it said. So that kind of fits me. Mikey went the other way with the noun definition, where it's kind of like adventurously courageous, basically like a daring mountain climber kind of thing. So I went through a period where I did a lot of things I probably shouldn't have. And I'm going to say right now, don't follow what I'm going to tell you here. Don't be like me. There was one night where I kind of just drove around this guy who was going from location to location and selling illegal items. I'm not going to specify specifically what it was, but it wasn't good.
Right. I mean, I think if you're watching it, you kind of know what she's kind of...
You can probably assume very easily what it was. I mean, it was multiple things. He did not have tunnel vision. He thought big. So I was just kind of driving him around and everything. My best friend at the time actually got mad at me for it because
Not me.
Yeah, not him. We occasionally sent messages at that time, but I moved to Syracuse and he was out here, so it was a little hard. But yeah, my best friend at the time was like, don't do it. Don't even answer his text, and because she knew him and knew he was no good. And I was like, okay, but I'm gonna go see, maybe he can pay me for driving him around. And then I convinced him to get me McDonald's and shit, and I brought her McDonald's, and she was at work and hungry, so that was how I smoothed everything over. And then I never did that again, because it's not something that you should do, whether someone tells you not to or not. You just should not put yourself in that position.
Right. And that is very daring for you, because I never would have expected to hear that from you. You
My
know what I
mom's
mean?
sitting in her chair right now, I fucking knew it. This girl is gonna be the death of me. It's over, Mom. It was one night. It's done.
Lesson learned real quick. Like Nicole said earlier, I thought about the question a little bit of a different way. And I felt like the most daring thing I ever did was stay true to myself in middle and high school. And by that I mean I came out to my friends. I didn't really tell my parents yet, but I felt like in school, where I spent more of my time anyway, that's who really knew me. I didn't dumb myself down. I didn't really care. I also, if you had to come up to me and ask me if I was gay, I wouldn't tell you yes or no in middle school. I would just be if you have to ask me that question, you're obviously not my friend. I mean, I'm not wrong.
Oh, you were very true to yourself. You knew your identity and owned it.
It was I figured out at a very young age, hey, this is what God blessed me with. I got a little bit of flavor in me, and I was proud of that, and I'm still proud of that. I'm very happy about being a gay man. I mean,
I feel like you show it very well in our podcast.
Thank you.
Even in with your accessories, your hat and your makeup and everything. You're hi, I'm here. I'm Mikey.
Right.
Get down with it or get the fuck out.
Unapologetic about who I am. I'm sorry.
No one should ever have to feel like they have to apologize for who they are, unless you're someone terrible, like a pedophile.
I mean, yes, you know the lines of it, but yeah,
right.
I mean, just do whatever you want. You know what I mean? Who cares if other people like it? If
right.
It does not matter as long as it makes you happy and true. And I feel a thing that really sucks is that there's days where it's hard to feel that, and you know what I mean? And you want to give up sometimes. Right. But it's as long as it's okay to feel that way, as long as you get back on your own train. Exactly. That's all I'm saying. Don't try to change it. If it makes you happy, stay with it.
And remember that it's your train. No one else is driving your train. So you direct it wherever you feel it needs to go. So now that we've given you a little bit of a motivational speech, let's talk murder.
Right? Let's get into this. Because, I mean, Halloween, we already know, is a pretty crazy time within itself, here in the U.S. But I feel like these people that we're about to cover have taken it one step further. I mean, I read over her notes. I can't lie. It's been a little stressful last week for me. I'm here. We're gonna, but I don't have so much about it. I know a lot of Halloween murders.
That's probably scarier, though, that Mikey can have a lot going on and still have a lot of knowledge on Halloween murders. Whereas I actually fucking tried to look shit up because I have no knowledge on Halloween murders. So if one of us is the murderer, you'll never really know because it's probably me, but he looks suspicious AF.
I mean, I know a lot. I've watched a lot.
So the first one we're going to talk to you about, the victim's name is Timothy O'Brien. It was 1974. He was a little 8-year-old boy. He had gone trick-or-treating with his sister, his father's friend, Jim Bates, and Jim Bates' son. At one point, there was nobody at a house, so obviously you knock on the door, nobody answers, you leave. Timothy's father, his name was Ronald, ended up falling behind. So eventually, Ronald catches up, and he runs up with 5 of these giant pixie sticks that are like 22 inches long, saying that he ran into a rich neighbor, and he just happened to have the pixie sticks, so he gave them to him for his kids.
Can I just say something, too? I know about this story, and it was funny when I was reading her notes, because I was like, oh my god, I just watched a video about this. I don't know if whoever was telling the video might have been telling a little bit more of a story to grasp you in, but I'm pretty sure they said that the house they stopped at was a run-down house. It was a house that didn't really look like anybody has lived in it in a while.
Why would you even stop there?
And then to say that a rich man came and stopped, and you know what I mean? It just seemed a little like, what is a rich guy doing in this broke down, you know what I mean, vicinity?
There's rich neighborhoods and there's broken down neighborhoods, so that's weird. Yeah, I didn't read anything about the house.
Yeah, the house itself was not. It wasn't a house that I felt like you'd want to you
wouldn't think to stop at for treats.
Yeah, so that was already kind of something that stuck out.
When Ronald ran up, he gave each of the kids one of these 22-inch long pixie sticks, the giant ass freaking pixie sticks, like
you know. God. I made one of those pixie sticks a wand one year. Like after a drama production, they all gave us them on Halloween night for after rehearsal, and I think I was like either a pirate or something. And I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna use this, and I literally just took a little extra I blackened the top of it so that way it looked a different color, and that was my little wand.
Nice. It works though, honestly. So he gave one to each of the 3 kids, a boy from church that they had encountered, and one to Jim for his daughter at home. Then they all go home, obviously, and it's Halloween, so the parents are like, yeah, kids, you can have one more snack before bed, or one more treat before bed. And Timothy decides he's gonna fucking mow down on that pixie stick.
Because who isn't?
Right, well, I probably wouldn't have. I wasn't a big fan of pixie sticks, but...
See, I think I just went off of, my biggest treat, so I feel like it would probably be the thing that I ate first because it's the biggest. I want it. It's mine before anybody else takes it. I grew up with a family of 2 older siblings and then a younger sibling. You know what I mean? So you can't say people weren't going to snatch your shit. So
we were 8 years apart in my family, the kids, and I didn't really have to compete for my candy, and my candy sat in my closet until next Halloween, and then Mom made me throw it away so I could go get more.
We were all greedy. We had it tucked under pillows and stuff like that. Yeah, they did in the fire, just shoved in drawers. You don't know how many years of the candy that we did not like from the next year. We'd go to grab a pillowcase, and we'd have to dump out a half a thing of candy because it was all the stuff we didn't eat.
Nice. So Timothy decides he's going to eat the pixie stick. And he doesn't notice that there's a staple holding the top shut because he's a kid. He just wants the pixie stick. And he did note that it had a bitter taste, but from what I saw, it just said that his dad told him to drink some Kool-Aid, wash it down, and, it'll go away. But then it gets serious. Timothy starts vomiting. He goes limp, and he ends up dying that evening before they even arrive to the hospital, that quickly.
Yeah, within the same night. We're not talking
on Halloween
he
night.
Had days apart. No, he, within a couple hours, felt extremely sick.
Again,
couldn't even make it to the hospital.
Old.
That's crazy.
Right. So, obviously, with a child now deceased, an investigation is done, and they look into Ronald because... Hello, you heard the story. I think anybody would. And it ends up showing that Ronald poisoned the pixie sticks with cyanide after he took out life insurance policy on his kids. Life insurance policies totaled around $60,000, which was supposedly like just enough to help him get out of like this massive debt he was in, so that basically he could be unburdened financially. And his wife claimed she had no knowledge of extra policies that he had taken out on the kids or like plans to murder them. And I don't think she ever went to jail. I didn't really see anything about her other than that. So
I have to say I don't know much about the wife.
Yeah, I don't think she went to jail, so I think she was innocent, and this was just him, like the father that did it. Ronald O'Brien was deemed the Candyman and eventually was sentenced to death after he was convicted of 1 capital murder and 4 attempted murder charges, and he was lethally injected on March 31st of 1984.
Is that what the movie Candyman is based on? I'm gonna have to watch that now again and see, because I forgot that they called him Candyman. Can we just talk about something real quick? So, a couple weird things that really get me about this case. First off, this father willingly did that to his own child.
Willingly did to others.
I was just about to say that not only did he do that, he passed it on, trying to make it seem like, okay, it's an accident now and they won't bring it back to me. You don't think that if those other kids got sick also and passed on, they wouldn't still be able to say, hey, only 5 kids that got pixie sticks on this night from you.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, no matter what he was thinking, it's like that.
It was not thought out very well.
Oh my God. And just the fact that, thank God, it's so sad that it happened to Timothy, but thank God that it, I guess, only happened to Timothy. Right. That it didn't have,
It could have been worse for the community, but it's horrible that Timothy had to go through it.
Had to be the one.
Had to go through it for money. Why is money always the freaking motive for such evil shit?
It's never worth it. Ever. You're
just
always going to get caught.
Honestly.
I mean, I would never actually recommend, but I do feel like, I guess, maybe, yeah, in that sense of, yes, if you're going to do that for, to your kid,
yes,
or then go do it to yourself, because that's not fair. Unless you're the only one that has the choice, like we just said at the beginning about your own train. Right. I guess you can do that to yourself. Don't do that to somebody else. That story just
some weed to the local high school kids
really gets me. It makes me mad. It makes me mad about the whole situation. Even from at the beginning of I guess I can't say anything because I don't know how everybody reacted. But I would like to say that if I was there, and this guy, whether he was my friend or not, came up to me with some weird pixie sticks and just said that I just got them from somebody who's now not there, mind you, too. You know what I mean? You don't get to see the interaction, and at a house that you saw is broke down, didn't look like anybody was there, and now there's a staple on top.
I don't know, because if I had kids and you had you were out with your people trick-or-treating, you know what I mean? And we were all together, and then all of a sudden I could see us doing that, accepting candy from each other. If I were because what if he didn't tell him that the gift came from the house? What if he was yo, this guy wasn't home when we were down the street?
Yeah, but I think he does say, oh no, the guy came out. I think in his one thing, that's what he was telling the other dad was that, or the people, was that the guy came out of the house after they left.
We'll have to double check.
And that's when it was I'm pretty sure, and that's where, but like I said, I mean, regardless, I get it what you're saying too.
Because right, I mean, I think they went to church and stuff together.
Right,
and that's
you
the
did just
thing,
say it's the church going, or it was
everybody
a church
goes
member.
to church together. It's that's a whole free
right? You
that is all you need. All
too.
of a sudden, you go to church and you trust everybody with everything that you have. What is that?
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I guess I just. It makes me so mad about everything.
It is. I mean, that's suspicious, but I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's also Halloween, so maybe the parents didn't inspect the candy. Maybe a couple of them.
Well, I mean, obviously, the other parents didn't give it to them. It was just, you know what I mean?
Right.
So
Timothy was the only one that ate it right away, basically.
Right. I don't know. Like I said, it's so sad that it even happened.
Right.
And
honestly,
just make sure too, with Halloween coming up, any parents, if you guys are new parents out watching us, to check candy.
Right.
I know it sounds crazy, and I remember being younger and thinking oh, I don't care. But when you hear about a story like this,
And make sure if you do find anything suspicious that you dispose of it properly. Like, don't...
Right? And notify a police, too. You know what I mean? Like, if it's really bad. If it's something...
Honestly, if it's a bag of weed, they're probably going to do nothing. You can donate that to your local stoner. Give it a double check, make sure, and let's go on to the next one. We'll remind you later also.
Oh, yeah.
On the next episode. So, the next one I have, the victims' names, it was 2 of them. It was a photographer, Ronald Sisman, who was 39, and his girlfriend, 20-year-old college student, Elizabeth Platzman. It was 1981, and it was in Manhattan, which we all know is in New York. Sisman, the photographer, actually operated 2 photography businesses out of his Manhattan apartment, and he was found dead in his apartment with Elizabeth. So the apartment furnishings had been torn all apart as if someone had been searching for something. All the identification had been removed from their bodies, but there was no signs of forcible entry. So a .25 caliber pistol that had been registered to Sisman was missing from his apartment. Both victims had been severely beaten and shot in the back of the head at close range. The police did suspect that robbery was the motive, but there was another theory that Sisman had allegedly recorded the son of Sam murdering a victim named Stacy Moskowitz, and that Richard Sisman, the victim here, was actually murdered by the cult who had been searching for the video of that murder. And, I saw something that said supposedly David Berkowitz, who was the son of Sam, actually said something to that effect while he was in prison, trying to implicate that Richard Sisman did, in fact, record that. So that was kind of interesting, and it's also interesting because their murders remain unsolved. So if they never actually investigated the possibility that he recorded this video for the son of Sam, maybe that's why the murder is unsolved, because... maybe the murderer was already behind bars. But if not, then whoever killed them got away scot-free.
That's crazy.
Honestly. And that was 1981. We're in 2021. So chances are whoever murdered them, they're never going to be caught at this point. You know what I mean?
Could still be around, right? I mean, if
it's
they
possible
were 20...
they're still alive, but I feel like to get a conviction after 40 years on a cold case.
Oh, yeah.
Unless there's some kind of DNA.
I didn't know that it was going to, become a thing.
Right. If you don't have anything to test, DNA is not going to help you. So that's a 40-year unsolved case. The next one I have is the Liske family. That's the victims. Again, I'm always going to give you the victims' names first because they're the ones we really need to talk about. We're telling you about the murderers, but...
they're the ones we care about. We want to get their name out there.
This could easily be your neighbor. It could easily be...
you.
Yeah, you. I mean, I'm not to jinx anyone, knock on some wood. So the Liske family. This one was a little more recent. It was in 2010, so 2010, in Ohio. Devin Griffin, he was one of the sons in the Liske family. So Devin Griffin returned home to the Liske family home. He had gone to a church service, and when he came back, he found his parents deceased, which was Susan and William Liske. And he found his brother Derek Griffin, also deceased. He originally thought it was a prank, because, it's Halloween, so he's like, alright, y'all are playing a game on me.
Right, because, honestly, what are the chances?
Right, I think he ended up doing a couple of things before he actually, went and, was like, oh my god, they're actually dead. And then he called his aunt, who called 911. Then she came over, and, 911 comes over, and investigators find Bill, that's what they called William. They find Bill and Susan dead in their bed. Bill's laying in his sleeping position with the covers pulled over him. He was shot 5 times in the head and face at close range of 1 to 2 feet with small caliber bullets. Susan was sprawled awkwardly as if she had been possibly moved. She was shot 3 times and raped. The police then went into Derek's room, which was locked. Which is fucking weird. You're dead inside, but your door's locked.
Right.
So I read that and I was just like, how? Why?
Yeah.
They kick in the door and they see that he's kind of curled on the bed facing the wall. He suffered blunt force trauma from a claw hammer and died within minutes. He bled out from the blunt force trauma. So Devin, the one that had returned home and found the scene, he advised the police that his stepbrother, William Liske, I think he was the junior, his nickname was BJ, he had been home before Devin left for church. And obviously he wasn't there now. So, he's like, okay, where's the stepbrother? Does he have knowledge of this? And there was a truck that had been home, and that was also missing. So obviously, Devin's probably thinking BJ did this and then bailed. So BJ Leski is eventually caught, and it's found that he actually has a history of domestic issues and mental illness. He had actually been diagnosed with bipolar and schizophrenia kind of illness when he was just 18. I can't read my own writing. I don't know if it was 2004 or 2001 because I suck at writing numbers. But BJ actually once hit Susan Liske with a coffee cup and stole her keys. Like, she didn't want him to drive away.
That's
so he hit her
the
with
junior, right?
Yeah.
That we're still talking? Okay.
The junior, the suspect at this point. He was found incompetent to stand trial at that point. So when he hit her with the coffee cup, they actually did file charges on him. But he was found incompetent to stand trial, and the charges were dropped. The neighbors also suspected BJ of killing and torturing their pets, such as one dog who had been shot twice with a .22 caliber bullet. William Liske, so the father who is dead in the bed, he actually once kicked out 18-year-old BJ because he had attempted to attack Susan in the shower. Eventually, BJ, in this case of the murders of Susan and William Liske, was found competent to stand trial, and he ends up pleading guilty so he can avoid the death penalty, and he's sentenced to 3 life sentences without the possibility of parole. He was actually found dead in his prison cell on March 31st of 2015 of a self-inflicted wound. It is worth noting, though, that he did get transferred out of the original jail because an employee at the original jail actually had a connection to a victim of his in the murder trial. So they had to transfer him out because obviously that's conflict of interest.
Right.
I mean, I can't say that if I were a corrections officer, I would not get a few hits in on the person that killed someone I loved.
Right.
I don't know if I would have that restraint.
But
So
wouldn't that mean that they were related because he murdered his family, right?
Well, it says connected, so it could have been like a best friend or, someone they worked with.
I thought it said related. So
no, just connected.
Like, wait, he raped his own mom?
She, I think, was his stepmom.
Okay.
So Devin Griffin and Dylan Griffin were from Susan's previous marriage, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And then, William had BJ with someone else. And then, they got together. I don't think they had any actual kids together.
Okay.
They just had kids from other marriages.
As soon as you said she was raped, I was like, I'm going to keep that in mind because if this comes out to be a family member, I'm bringing it up.
Yeah, I definitely forgot to mention that. But I'm pretty sure she was the stepmother. So, okay. Yeah, because he was junior and she was stepmommy. Like Devin and Dylan, that was their mom. So that's why it really sucked for Devin because basically you found your own mom and your stepdad dead and your brother. And they were killed by your stepbrother who already had issues with your family and probably shouldn't have been near them. But I did see something that said, basically, the dad was trying to have faith in his son. He's like, no, he won't hurt us. But that's actually really weird. Ronald O'Brien was lethally injected on March 31st, and BJ Leski died in his prison cell on March 31st.
Whoa.
It's weird, right?
Whoa.
Yeah, I mean,
that's a little coincidence. That's crazy. I
wonder if that'll pop up anywhere else. I have a couple more stories here. So on to the next one, yeah. We have 49-year-old Maria Adams. It was 2011 in Chicago. She was with her acquaintance, a 55-year-old man named Liddell Peoples, at his residence when Liddell noticed that he was missing some candy bags. So he goes to Maria and he's like, yo, you stole my candy bags. And of course she's like, no, I didn't steal your candy bags. And they get into a fight over these missing candy bags. And eventually it's so bad that Maria throws a plate at Liddell. It hits him above the eye, and of course it leaves a gash because it's Halloween, why not? Liddell and Maria Adams continued to fight until Liddell stabbed Maria multiple times, causing her death. He did get sentenced to 30 years in prison, but seriously all over
candy?
A missing bag of candy.
And we're how old?
55. Yeah. She was 49, he was 55. I don't understand how we got here. But it's really sad that she died over.
Oh my god, I know. I don't mean to laugh.
Especially if she didn't steal them.
Right? Like if she really didn't, but it's almost like then where did they go? If it's a missing.
I wonder if the police found them, like, or whoever cleaned out his apartment. Maybe he's tried.
Oh my god! If it was in like a spot that he's put it and forgot.
Right, because like I love my mom, but she is constantly forgetting where she put shit. I'm constantly forgetting where I put shit. Right. Let's be real.
Me too.
So like I never know where anything is. So it's quite possible that like you're 55, maybe you forgot. Maybe you hid them away because you're like, oh, I'm going to hide them for Halloween. I don't want to get the munchies and eat them. And then you forgot and killed your girlfriend or your acquaintance, whatever. Like, right? That's ridiculous. The next one we have, our victim's name is a 12-year-old named Tony Tj Garrison. This was in South Carolina near Sumter in 2008. He was trick-or-treating with his dad and brother door to door while his mom followed in a van with their 2-year-old. Like, my mom's done that. Follow with the car and let the kids knock on the door. But yeah, so TJ, he's the leader. You know, leader, they get the most candy, they get the best candy, they get to pick. So, of course, you're going to want to be the leader. He knocks on the door of a 22-year-old man named Quentin L. Patrick, who was home with his 19-year-old girlfriend and 2-year-old daughter. Well, Patrick had past convictions for possession with intent to distribute and was a felon. He was prohibited from owning a gun, but he was claimed that he was scared and didn't want to be shot and robbed again. So, when Patrick saw masked people outside of his house, he thought someone was there to cause him harm. And he fired more than 29 shots from an AK-47 through the windows, walls, and door. TJ was shot 13 times, including once just above his eye, which resulted in his death. His 9-year-old brother got shot in the leg and side. His father was shot in the arm and grazed in the stomach. Quentin Patrick did eventually plead guilty to the murder of TJ, and he was also sentenced to 30 years in jail.
Oh my god. I wonder how he feels. Like, I wonder...
I saw a picture of him, and he looks like he... feels remorse.
Right. Like, that just sounds devastating. Because, like, when I read that, I can kind of understand, I guess, especially because it said robbed again.
Right.
So he was already robbed. The only thing that kind of stands out a little bit is that it's Halloween night.
You get that right. I guess that's my thing, is, like, you have to expect it.
Right. When you looked outside, you couldn't tell that was a 9-year-old. Or, you know, like, is it TJ was 13, right?
12.
So, I mean, 12, 13... They're standing, I mean, I don't know. Usually you're standing about 4 foot, 5 foot, maybe, around there.
I don't know. It depends. If he hit puberty in the earlier side, he could have shot up. I guess
it's just like, you know.
But you're right. It's Halloween, so either way, like.
You would think that you'd put 2 and 2 together and be like, wait, these have to be trick-or-treaters. I don't know. Or maybe I would have had my gun and not shot it until I answered the door.
Yeah, but then at the same time, he's probably thinking they're going to shoot him as soon as he...
Right, but
or have a gun in his face the moment he opens his door. I mean, I get where he was coming from, but it's Halloween, and honestly, if you're that paranoid, like, you gotta do something.
You turn your light off, you fucking lock that door, you put a sign on that says, like, do not knock.
Right, no candy, not home.
Right.
Crazy.
Like you said, that sucks for everybody. And
I only saw one picture of him, but it did look like he,
that sucks for the family.
Wanted to cry and shit. He pled guilty. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
yes,
it's not like he was just trying. I mean, I didn't see anything about a death penalty, so I think he pled guilty because he knew he fucked up. Like, his 2-year-old daughter was there. She's gonna be traumatized.
That's what makes it seem like it was more of like a
protection.
Yes.
Right. It's just so sad.
It's so yes. Yeah, that broke my heart a little bit.
It's especially sad when it's kids, because it's Halloween and they're just trying to get candy, and all of a sudden they don't even have a life. So, moving on, we have Suzanne Claremont and Francois Duchesne. It was in 2020 in Quebec City in Canada. They were actually stabbed with a Japanese katana-style sword by a man named Carl Gerard in Old Quebec while he was dressed in a medieval costume. So this dude fucking dressed in a medieval costume and walked around with a real Japanese katana-style sword. And he starts stabbing people. There were 5 others that were also injured. And he chose his victims randomly and in different locations. So there was no mythology to it. He just literally dressed up, went out, and started stabbing. He said that he just wanted to inflict as much damage as possible. He's still on trial because that was 2020.
Oh
so
my God, that's crazy.
And obviously we're in a pandemic, so everything takes longer now. But yeah, he's still on trial. I can't imagine a situation where he's gonna be found not guilty unless it's by like mental defect somehow and he's locked in an institution. Because like seriously, like
kind of sounds like it. Who else just says, well, I mean, I'm gonna get a katana and do as much damage as I possibly can.
While you're in a medieval costume. Like what? Like that's taking Halloween to a whole nother level. That's Michael Myers right there. So yeah, that's freaking weird. Moving on, our victim's name in this case is Carl Jackson. This was backfired. This was in 1998 in the Bronx. He and his girlfriend had gone to pick up her son, and they planned to drop him off at home. I think he was at his own little party, so they went to pick him up. They were going to drop him off to the babysitter so that they could go attend an adult Halloween party, which I feel like that's probably pretty common on Halloween night.
Yeah.
So there was a group of young men that started throwing eggs at his car. Carl actually got out to confront them because, he's like, yo, stop throwing eggs at my car. Like, what the fuck? And I think that actually damages the paint.
Right? I think that could, be really damaging.
I dropped eggs on a car one time. Like, literally, I didn't throw them. Right. Long story short, for some reason that you all will probably never know, I had eggs in my pocket. And they had broken. They were in a Ziploc baggie. And I didn't know what to do with them. I didn't want to take them home because I didn't want my mom to be like, why do you have a bag of eggs in your pocket? So I just kind of dumped them on a car I was walking by and, ditched the bag in the woods. And then years later, I found out it damages paint and stuff. And I was like, oh my god, now I feel like an asshole. Like, even more like an asshole. Because I didn't really want to dump it on the car in the first place. But, I was in middle school. So I was like, first off, I'm going to be cool. Even though I don't think I told anybody. And then I was like, B, I really just didn't want to get in trouble. I totally get confronting them, though. Because, I would have confronted me if I ran into me. So he confronts them, but he gets in the car and he ends up driving away. But there's one egger who gets in his own car, and he starts to follow Mr. Carl Jackson. After a few blocks, the man catches up to him, and he actually shot him in the head in the temple one time. His name was Curtis Sterling. He was 17 years old. He was charged with second-degree murder and criminal possession of a weapon, and was convicted and sentenced to 20 years. Jackson's mom, the victim's mom, actually sends Curtis Sterling a card every Halloween saying, I'm glad you're still in there. So.
That's awesome.
But, seriously, 17 and you shot someone because they told you not to egg their car? Honestly, even if he got in your face, bro.
Right.
Really? You have that much of, anger issues inside that you shot a man after you
damaged his property?
Right. You came at him with those eggs. This one was 15-year-old Martha Moxley. This was back a while. This was in 1975 in Greenwich, Connecticut. She went with her friends for a mischief night, which was basically we're going to ring doorbells and run away, pull pranks, TP houses, things like that. I think
it's technically the night. I think they call that the night before Halloween is mischief night. I think it's cops that call it that because they do get a lot of eggers and stuff the night before Halloween. I don't know why.
I always heard it on Halloween. I don't know. I've never heard of it before Halloween.
Yeah, I've heard of it being they saying it's mischief night the day before Halloween.
So some of her friends said that they saw her kissing a boy named Thomas Skeckel, and her and him kind of fell behind the rest of the group around 9:30 near a pool in the Skeckel backyard.
Ooh, did you see Martha and Thomas Skeckel? They were doing a
AISSING. Then the next day, though, Martha's body is found under a tree in the family's backyard. Her pants and underwear were pulled down, but she was not sexually assaulted. There were pieces of a broken 6-iron golf club also near her body, which I don't know how the fuck you break a golf club.
I guess it's really hard.
I've had some, I don't golf, but I, for some reason, possessed some. And they're freaking metal sticks.
Yeah, my dad had a set of golf clubs in there. They're sturdy.
To break it into pieces, their whole purpose is to beat the shit out of a ball and send it flying.
And hit the ground, yeah.
Right. It's we all watch Happy Gilmore. We've seen golf pilots,
Right.
So, the autopsy confirms that Martha has been bludgeoned and stabbed with the club, which was actually traced back to the Skeckel residence. Tommy is not very nice, kissing and killing. So, originally, Thomas Skeckel was suspected since he was the last person seen with Martha along with Kenneth Littleton, who'd just started as a living tutor for the Skeckels hours before she was murdered. So, he moves in, he's like, I'm going to tutor you bitches while I live here. And now the girl down the street's dead. At that point, when she was murdered, no one was actually charged. But over time, Thomas and his brother Michael Skeckel's alibis actually changed. And 2 students from a treatment center for troubled youth actually claimed that Michael said he'd gotten away with murder because he was a Kennedy. Meaning, isn't related to JFK, that family of Kennedys. So, when you come from a powerful line, you think you have power and can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
In January of 2000, 25 years later, after the murder, an arrest warrant was issued for Michael Skeckel, who was found guilty of Martha's murder on June 7th of 2002, and sentenced to 20 years to life in prison. In January of 2003, though, so after he was sentenced, Robert Kennedy Jr. wrote a controversial article called A Miscarriage of Justice that claimed Michael Skeckel was actually innocent, and he released a book defending Michael Skeckel called Framed in July of 2016. I jumped a little ahead with the book, but on May 4th of 2008, the Connecticut Supreme Court actually vacated Michael Skeckel's conviction, saying that they failed to contact Skeckel's alibi, resulting in an unfair trial. So he got released. Right. And then on October 30th of 2020, so last year, almost a year ago, literally 2 weeks shy of a year as we record this, the Chief State's Attorney Richard Colangelo advised the Supreme Court that Michael Skeckel would not be retried. So he did go to jail for the murder, but he's out, and it sounds like it's basically never
Just
happened almost. Almost like it's sealed without being sealed. I don't know if it's actually sealed. I don't know the details of his release, but that's insane.
That is crazy.
Because right now, that means if he is out, then you didn't catch your killer. So either you caught your killer and let him go free, or
you didn't catch your killer
we
at
still
all.
have yet another unsolved case.
Right.
So that's just crazy.
With that being said, that was some Halloween murders that we wanted to go through, and
Do you feel scared yet?
Right?
Are you afraid to go out? You should be.
We also just want to say real quick too, we don't mean any ill will with making the video or any I know we've laughed a couple times making little jokes here and there between it, but we want to get the name out of the victim. That's why Nicole put that, she put their names first, and this video isn't,
Right. When we laugh, it's because the situation itself is awkward. It's are you kidding me? Is this real? Am I really understanding this correctly? Kind of you really trying to tell me someone killed someone because bags of candy went missing? Is that a joke or is that serious?
Right.
No, it's serious.
That's what we, I just wanted to kind of get that across. I didn't want somebody to watch
We never
and
mean
take it the
disrespect.
wrong way. Not at all. But with that being said, guys, that was another episode of Tainted Warriors.
Don't forget to like and subscribe, comment, share, all of the social media buttons. Click them all.
Right. Come on. Give us some loving, guys. We love you. And until the next time. Bye.
Tainted Warriors, a TW Productions podcast.